This is the 20th season of Bass Talk Live. BTL is presented by Bass Cat Boats, Strike King Lures, AFTCO, Pro Guide Batteries, Spro, Gamakatsu, The Bass Tank, Denali Rods, Beatdown Outdoors, and Sunline.
BTL coming at you.
Good morning and welcome to another exciting edition of BTL, Bass Talk Live, where we are going to talk about bass fishing. One major derby underway, although the first 2 days not being televised. I find it funny, you peruse social media these days, and before everyone wanted to point out that they weren't watching the BPT, and now everyone's pissed that they're not airing the first 2 days of coverage for the BPT. And I'm pretty sure it's the same people that were saying they weren't watching it who are now saying they're pissed that they're not airing the first 2 days of coverage. Anyway, regardless, BPT going on, Dale Hollow, a big decision between largemouth or smallmouth. Guys, if you are not on the Drew, I don't want to call it a bandwagon. It's not a bandwagon. It's more like a semi truck or a freight train, the Drew Gill freight train. He made the podcast rounds kind of after his win. I actually got him on like literally right before he won the that invitational event, but he is basically leading the Angler of the Year in the top 3 and everything. He's like 21 years old, and he went out yesterday, had 77-15 on 26 fish with a 512. So Drew Gill will be fun to watch as he forward-facing sonars the competition better than everyone else who's forward-facing sonar. Definitely a very talented angler. And then today we're already we're about an hour and a half in to the day there, and no surprise there, Jacob Wheeler already with 4 fish for 14 pounds. So that's what's going on over at the BPT. So I am working on a guest for next week. I'm gonna have to call him after the show, but Chris Johnson, without a T, not a Johnston, and he's not from Canada. He is the old school dude from Arkansas who just won the Bass Nation Regional on the Arkansas River. I think out of like a 1980s Ranger with a pistol grip, nylon line, and a tan patch vest, and like a trucker hat. Like, I mean, totally legit, as old school as it gets. So I had Greg Bohannon reach out. He was like, dude, you gotta get this dude on the show. And then I actually had a couple other people reach out. So we are going to go old school. Hopefully he answers the flip phone or the landline. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know what he's got there, but we'll try to get Chris Johnson on. I don't know him, but I've heard he's a really cool dude. All right, cool show today. Some news dropped yesterday, maybe 2 days ago, about a really cool opportunity through Strike King and Lose, and they're running it through Fishing Chaos. I said, hey, the show is sponsored by Strike King and Lose. Maybe we could get someone from that on. That would be the one and only Tom Brewbaker, who we have had on BTL numerous times. And we now are welcome in Tom Brewbaker from you're in Colombia,
USA, God's country.
I would be tough for me to get any work done there with Murray and Hartwell and Kiowee and Russell and all those lakes right there, where it, like right now, you could go out and catch 30 spotted bass a day on any of those fisheries.
Well, spotted bass not as much on Murray, and Murray's the one that I've been going to most often recently because it's on. It's early. The fish seem like they somehow, at least for me, they were on the beds for all of 5 seconds. And when I thought it was like prime time to go look for some fish up shallow, I was just seeing empty beds and fry garters. So
they're already done?
Yeah, it's ahead of schedule. They're on the herring stuff. They're fully on that. So it's kind of crazy.
Where are you originally from?
Montgomery, Alabama.
Okay. But you've been out in South Carolina for a minute now.
For about 3 years, yep. Also went to school here. Go Gamecocks.
Yeah.
I lived in Tulsa for a while too. So
I think I knew that.
Yeah.
Have you actually experienced like full blown hit it perfect herring spawn on those Carolina lakes?
Yes, and it's something that should be like on National Geographic or something. And when the herring get up shallow on those points, you're seeing like 5 pound plus bass come all the way out of the water, and you can throw a shaky head into a school of them and catch a giant. I mean, it's
Like that deep, right?
yeah, literally in nothing. I mean, yeah, 5 inches, 3 inches of water. Don't even know how a 5 pounder gets in water that small, but they do.
And then they eat anything that moves because they've got the herring are spawning on that sand or clay. That's how I get it. And then there's like how long is it? Just a couple weeks or like a 3-week period?
It's a couple of months.
Crash the bank at times.
Yep. And you'll see these schools of herring like up shallow, like you can see them without polarized lenses. You'll see the fish or herring get up there in a ball and circle around, run all over the point, and then you'll just see these giant bass chasing them all over the point. I'm probably not going to throw a shaky head into the middle of it. That's probably not going to be the first thing I do. There's other awesome Strike King baits that you can throw in that school, but it's unreal. If you haven't experienced it, definitely come check it out. And we've got a Strike King Big Bass Challenge in-person tournament on Lake Murray. I believe it is the first weekend in May. That's going to be lights out. I mean, we timed that up perfect, I believe.
Wait, do you know the details about that?
I got some details.
All right. Shoot those to me, or if there's a website where it's out on, I can pull that up. Because you have all sorts of tournaments now. Apparently, Strike King is in the Derby game now, Tom.
We've been in the Derby game for a minute. This is the 4th or 5th year we've done the Strike King Big Bass Challenge in-person tournaments. Typically, we do 6 a year. This year, we scaled it back to 3 and just invested more into those tournaments with bigger payouts. We're going to expand them again. And then we expanded, of course, into what you mentioned earlier, the digital side of the Strike King Big Bass Challenge, which is the Big Bass Challenge USA.
That's what we're going to talk about. Let's get this out here right now, because there sounds like these are some cool details on this. It's an opportunity for anybody who's watching, right? Do you have to be in a registered tournament?
To compete in this? No, you just have to register for this tournament.
So anybody can register for this. Okay.
Anybody. Yep.
Good. Because that's what I've been promoting on BTL for the last week, that it's something that all the listeners, and I was like, I guess I should have probably figured out if that was actually the case.
That's accurate. Yep.
Right there.
That's the one. Mr. eBear up there slinging it.
The 30-day nationwide tournament presented by it's the Strike King Big Bass Challenge. I have the direct link to this to the Fishing Chaos app in the description in the YouTube for this show. Tom, details. Actually, you're buying tickets for this thing, right?
Yep. $10.
Oh, that's it. $10 you're in.
Yep. And the way that I look at it, the reason we kick this off is because, at least for me, it seems like the big fish that I catch seem to show up in practice and not during the events. So now, over the course of May, all those fish you catch in a tournament or during practice or just fun fishing or fishing from the bank or a kayak, there's no limits on that. You can get credit, potentially win cash and prizes for that. You can see pretty hefty payouts there as well. There's also a big bass bonus prize, which is for any fish that is 20 inches or longer that's scored. You'll go into a pool to get drawn for some awesome prizes there as well. I think we have 10 $200 product gift cards going out to the people that are drawn for that as well. So just score a 20-inch fish and you got a good shot there. And I think that's the part for tournament anglers where it's sort of the biggest adjustment. It's really not a huge adjustment because a lot of times you're doing this for smaller fish to make sure that they're 14 inches, just measuring them. I mean, and you get something like this. This is a catch board.
Yeah, it says there's a list of approved measuring boards in the rules.
This one's my favorite just because, so I've done this in the past with these tournaments where I didn't want to go buy a new scale. So I had one that was like 20 inches or 18 inches, and then you catch a 22.
Yeah, then you're in a pickle.
Yeah. And we're gonna be doing more of these. There's a bunch of other tournaments going on at Fishing Chaos too. And it's just one of those things where if you're already fishing or fishing tournaments, might as well see if you can get a bonus on top of that by registering for some other events. Because over the course of a month, I mean, who knows? You don't have to have your best 5, in a particular day. You could be a collection of the fish that you catch over the course of a month that'll go towards you winning a lot of cash. So
Colby's saying, hey, I'm from Utah. We don't have bass anywhere near that size. It is split up into regions. So like if you're in Utah, you're not competing against some dude push poling around the St. John's River looking at 12s.
Yeah, if you're in Utah, you'll be out in the West Division. And so it's
Oregon, Washington, Idaho, Montana, Nevada, Colorado, Arizona, and basically any state that cooks with bear grease.
Exactly. Spot on.
Yep. That's how you telling me that's how you decided that region.
100%. Yep. And then also the big 3. I mean, that's just where all the biggest, generally the biggest fish are: Texas, Florida, California. So we put them into their own region as well. And that's how we did it last year with
Dude, that was smart. Was that your decision?
No. So that's actually how a few different tournaments before us did it through Fishing Chaos. And we did it for the first time with the mock Summer Smash Series last year, which that was a great event. And that was over the course of 4 months. And yeah, I think that region separation there made a big difference with the weights. I mean, you could see it within the first week of scoring that, yeah, you're going to see significantly longer fish coming out of the big 3 than you are like the Northeast and the West. But I know there's somebody out there that's in the West that's like, hey, I can catch 24-inch fish all day long. So
yeah, there's someone out there that's got. There's a couple of those Western lakes that have those freak show smallmouth that have been popping up. Mm-hmm. Do you have anybody on your team that's out there doing that, like the Idaho freak show stuff that's going on, like the 8 to 9.5 pound smallmouth?
I don't think so. I don't think so. If they are, and you're listening to this, please tell me about it.
That's what I'm saying. Like I could never do your job because it would literally just be a constant abuse of power on my end to where I would just be like, hey, you want to get sponsored? Cool. I'm coming out as a pro staff manager, like as a media marketing guy. Like I'm coming out that, and then someone above me would be like, dude, why are you just signing everyone where the giant fish are and then traveling out there? Like that would be, I would last maybe 6 months before I started doing that.
Yeah, that was my plan early on. Just kidding. But I unfortunately, it's kind of the irony is the more access you get to cool stuff like that and rods and reels and baits, the less you get to fish. So yeah, I wish I could take advantage of that. I need to get out there and get on some of these Texas lakes and Minnesota. I know we'll be going up there with a few of our guys this year just because that place is unreal. But yeah, it has its perks sometimes. I mean, I can go catch some giants with people that know a lot more about bass fishing than I do. So
May 1st through May 31st on this. It's on all of Strike King's social media. Like I said, the direct link is also in the show. You can either look at it at strikeking.com or lose.com. You have to do an order submission. You can also send your things to content at ratheroutdoors.com. You can also send feet pictures to Tom at that account. And then the winner will be selected at the sole discretion of Strike.
That's actually, I need to open that as a scoring category. Feet
and fish. If you so wrong.
Like the guy that has that tattoo of he's got a tattooed measuring board on his leg.
Yeah, I've seen that. I wonder
if he's a big Fishing Chaos guy. I wonder if that's why he did
that. You do have to have a Strike King bait in the picture though. That's one of the
correct.
That's one of the things. Mm-hmm. So, and then I'm assuming there's ways you can tell like time stamped and all that stuff, and they send you like, I mean, you guys have this pretty dialed in, so you don't just have some dude with like an altered ruler from 1997 turning in his 28-inch largemouth.
Yeah, there are some restrictions on. Yeah, you can't use a tape measurer. You got to have the fish's mouth closed, and against, of course, the end of like the bump board, like up against that part right there. But yeah, it's as simple as catching the fish, putting it on this, and taking a picture of it. And I mean, say you, like me, say you had 14 pounds in a tournament, but you had a 6-pounder in there and a bunch of squeakers. It's like, well, yeah. That 6-pounder was 21.5 inches.
It was worth be worth $3,000.
Yeah. It's like, maybe this tournament wasn't a waste of my $500. I can go back and tell my wife, like, no, I didn't just flush that down the drain. I scored a 21.5-inch fish, and we'll
500. See. That's cheap, man. I wish I could get out of there. I'm getting my ass kicked at $1,800 a pop right now, Tom.
Yeah.
I'm like really paying for it.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
then I'm
Well,
like, give me 7 more.
well, hey, is there a situation so far that where if maybe you had a bad tournament, but you caught a big fish and you spent that 1,800, but you spent that extra $10?
Yeah, so
And
here's what I was thinking just out of South Carolina. Like, I shook off some gigantors in practice. Like, literally, like, I shook off, like, fish where I was like, I think this could be a PB. Now, I could actually see this contest working against me because I would now be like, well,
yeah, hooking
this
them.
one might be a 21, 22 incher.
I might set the hook on this one. I might leave the trebles on.
Yeah. Anyway, we did mention the pro staff. That was one of the big things that has happened this year is KVD fishing his last championship event. Now, I do believe he in heavy hitters as well.
Heavy hitters is his last event. Mm-hmm.
So that's coming up.
Yep.
So I would assume that that's going to be a blowout deal there with the last event where the nostalgia is really going to hit, because he still was in kind of like KVD mode at Red Crest, even though it didn't turn out as good for him. Was he not? Was he super mellow?
I think he's always going to be in KVD mode. I mean, the guy's so competitive. Like, I was talking to a guide up in Michigan this morning, and he saw Kevin and Zona out on the water, and I think he's probably just as competitive in that sort of environment where there's nothing on the line as if there's 100K, 300K on the line. He just is a competitive human.
Okay, so you are in a unique situation here because for so many years, Kevin was he was the face of the brand of Strike King. Came over to lose a couple years ago and now has retired from competitive fishing, announces the Kevin VanDam Experience, I believe is what it's called, podcast, tons of social media, TV show, Uber celebrities, Luke Bryan, the whole 9 yards. Is Kevin VanDam the person and everything that is that like, do you guys have massive board meetings where you like are around him and building the brand, because he is a brand builder and now all of a sudden there's a seismic shift in what he is bringing to the table? Like, how do you guys determine this is where we're going to pivot, this isn't where we're going to pivot? Is Kevin to the point where he just calls and says, hey, this is what I'm going to do, and you guys say yes sir?
Well, I'd say Kevin has been thinking about what he wanted to do for a really long time, probably for a couple of years, on what he wanted to do after he fished his last top tour tournament. And so, I mean, yeah, he asked me for some input here and there, but I feel like he and his team had a pretty good idea and just sort of worked through the details. And now they've come out with obviously the Kevin VanDam Experience and associated media there. But it's Kevin's going to do what Kevin wants to do, and that will be something that's still going to elevate our brand. And he's still involved with bait development, brand development. I mean, he's still very heavily involved. And just
how much is he actually involved in that behind the scenes? Because you hear certain things where guys are like, oh, they just slapped their name on it or everything. But like, how involved has Kevin been? Is it kind of vary based on the bait, or is he as stickler when it comes to the bait development and what has his name on it as he is in every other aspect?
I would say there's not a single lure with the KVD initials on it that he's not intimately involved with. I mean, he's going to be involved from the front end on all of that stuff. And he is even baits outside of the KVD side. I mean, he is always throwing up tweaks, ideas, things we need to add, adjustments we need to make. And yeah, super involved.
I'm assuming, did Strike King film this? Can we run the announcement, the KVD Experience announcement?
Yeah, run it.
Have you seen it?
I have seen it. Mm-hmm. I thought he was about to announce something that he hadn't told me, and I was like, wait, it's the show.
No, I still think he's got enough. I mean, this is just complete speculation from a guy who covers fishing for a living and does a show 4 times a week. So I'm supposed to say things like this, but I think he's got one more classic in him, Tom. I think he has one more Bassmaster Classic in him. I think he's got just what my gut feels. And it might not be for a number of years,
Yeah.
And it might be a process because he's going to have to qualify for it somehow.
Yep.
But listen, there's a lot of people who, are going to get, they haven't started walking the path yet to get to the top, but the path is there. Like he's got it. I think God, I can't picture him not just getting itchy and then just making one more run at it. Anyway.
Well,
that's not your job to speculate that. You could just sit there and smile.
Hey, I'll speculate on it as an angler and somebody that very much wants that to happen. He's told me, no, that's not happening. But, a year goes by. Maybe he says, I've got to get back in there. It's kind of like you saw Bill Belichick. He's on the sidelines at Washington now. And I'm Kevin, if you're watching this, I'm not comparing you to Bill Belichick by age or his
personality.
Apparel, personality, any of that stuff. But he's a guy that's pivotal to the sport. He
Let's be
built
honest.
it to what it is.
Isn't watching BTL at 8:52 a.m. Central Time on a Wednesday.
No, he's out there whacking them right now up in Michigan. I know that. But I think he's got to. He's got to. That competitive juices that he has, he's got to get that outlet. I don't know. I think it's happening. But.
This is pretty cool for the KVD experience. We'll share it. I think I can share the audio on this. Mm-hmm. It's only like 50 seconds.
Last year, at the beginning of the season, I made the announcement that it'd be my final season on tour. When I started out, I never would have dreamed where I'd be after 33 years. It's been an unbelievable ride. So many people have asked me, what am I going to do in my retirement? Let me be real clear. I am not retiring. I love fishing tournaments, but after 33 years, I'm ready for a change. I love to fish and I love the outdoors. We've been planning and working towards this day for a long time. If you've enjoyed following my career and what I do on the water, it's not over yet. You didn't think I was just going to be sitting on the beach. My next chapter starts right now.
Gets me fired up.
That does get you fired up right there. So
I had people asking me if he was coming back after that. They're like, Kevin's coming back. I'm like, I think you misunderstood the commercial. But
as a teaser, Kevin's doing a TV show.
Which is going to air. Well, I can't talk about that. I don't know if that's all been decided. But we've got Pro Team Journal and Outdoor Channel also going to be hitting the KOB TV platforms. And then you got Zona's Awesome Fishing Show. And then you got Kevin's show. So the three of those all together, if you love those guys and love Strike King and you love bass fishing, you're going to have fun on Sunday mornings. I can tell you that much.
All right, that's a perfect segue. We're going to take our first break of the show. When we come back, we're talking with Tom Brewbaker from Strike King and Lose. I didn't mean to pause there. It just happened that was where it was. It's Tom Brewbaker,
cool.
not Tom
would have been cool.
Baker. But I want to talk about assembling a pro staff. I want to talk about assembling a pro team, having guys that are synonymous with it, because in my opinion, the greatest pro team that has been, there's two. The greatest pro team that has ever been established is no longer, but it was the old Quantum team. And that was like Grigsby, Klein, Hackney, KVD, Rojas, Howell, Biffle, like just legendary anglers. Now, currently, you could say the Toyota team, because of how many guys have been on their longevity. Kevin's a part of that as well. Ike, Swindle, a couple other guys that are in and out on that. But when it comes to brands that have built legendary pro teams where guys years after they're done fishing, like a Denny Brower, are still synonymous with that brand, I think Strike King is at the top of the mountain.
I would agree.
And I mean, that kind of falls into your responsibilities now. I mean, you weren't with the brand when they signed Kevin originally, or Denny, or any of those guys, but you are now, and you're also leading it in this seismic shift into social media and lures that you have to be looking at the fish on the screen to catch them. And now there's a bunch to get into. So we'll take a break. When we come back, Tom Brewbaker, from South Carolina with Strike King. Lose. It's BTL on a Wednesday, April 10th already. Holy cow. Third of the way through April. We'll be back right after this.
The new Puma STS has been redesigned from the ground up. With the angler, design, function, and performance in mind, nothing on this new offering was compromised, and the only thing carried over from the previous version is the name. Based on the Soft Touch series hull that started with the flagship Jaguar, this new model is nimble and performs incredibly well at all speeds with either a 250 or 300 horsepower engine. Featuring a new 96-inch wide-body footprint, this hull measures out at 20 foot 7 inches in length. Industry-leading design coupled with tournament-winning performance. The Puma STS from Basscat. Feel the rush.
Everything you need, one legendary brand. Top on, Strike King.
AFCO. Any fish, any water.
Your early morning mentality is your every hour mentality. All gas, no brakes. Focus, purpose, power. Destined for the water, but confident everywhere else. A calming buzz before the storm, truth of nature itself. You can't catch lightning in a bottle. There's a limit out there, but it's not with your gear. Unrelenting power delivery. Unparalleled weight savings. Keeping you on the water, whether you run a 9.9 or outscoping your best 5. In this rare air, there's power in the silence. It's a mindset, thinking only of the things that matter and freeing your mind from the things that you trust.
Get the best patterns backed by tournament data. Start by finding the best 10% of your lake. Know exactly what to look for and what to throw. After that, just put them in the boat. Try the Deep Dive app today.
Look at that beast right there.
All right, welcome back, BTL on a Wednesday, talking with Tom Brewbaker from Strike King Lose. And we kind of touched on it before the break, but we're talking about some of the greatest fishing teams of all time. Clay brought up a great point. He's like, it's a team until you get on the water, and then they all try to beat the brakes off of each other. But I can't think of any other one that is as synonymous as the Strike King team. As far as accomplishments, as far as longevity, duration with this, I mean, there's a bunch of guys there that like it's like Brett Favre with the Packers.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of that comes from the sort of family environment that Strike King has had since the very beginning. A lot of the guys that were some of the originals.
Scott. Sorry, it was Scott, not Clay. I got to give credit where credit is due. Anyway.
Bass Turds Fishing, is that what that said?
Yeah. His name is Scott Turdo.
That's
awesome.
awesome.
His last name. Yeah. He doesn't miss a show. He's a good dude.
What's up, Scott?
Sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off there. I just wanted
to. Does he like throwing a TRD?
I'm just saying Clay gives me enough crap in the comments, so I didn't need to give him any more credit that especially wasn't due to him. But yeah, back to the pro staffs and the teams and the longevity sponsorship.
Yeah, so a lot of those the OGs, if you will, of the Strike King team, they were just as part of the process of making products and building that brand on the front end. as the product development guys and the owners of the company. Like it started with like 4 people. So I think it started there, family environment, truly built by the pros. And then it just expanded. Obviously the brand's gone through changes. The one thing that I feel like they've maintained is that family environment among the pro staff, and something that I feel like we're tasked with maintaining. And, I think we've done a great job in some areas and have areas, to improve, of course. But yeah, stepping into a pro staff like this, when I started like 3 years ago, I mean, that's a dream. It's like, what do you need to do when you got a great pro staff like that? That's already, plug and play. Just trying to find the guys that can carry that on at every level.
Was that a little bit intimidating?
Oh, absolutely.
Coming in with those guys. I mean, you're a fan of the sport. You like to fish. You fish collegiately. Like it's not a, this is also a passion for you, which is one of the things that I like.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely walking into it, knowing the level of pros that we have and the impact that they've had on the sport. I'd say that, you could call that intimidating for sure. I think the hard part is trying to keep it going, keep growing the team, and add people that have some of those same character elements that the current team has had in the past. And I think that's people that work hard for the brand. I think everybody that's a top performer on our pro staff, they have that in common. They work really hard for our brands. They're people of character, and they feel like that logo on their jersey, that it means more than just a signature on a pro staff agreement and doing some content or talking about our company whenever they are on the way in stage. I feel like they are truly tied to these brands and want to work hard for them. And so I feel like that's the most important element.
I mean, you still have a lot of either current or future Hall of Famers on the pro staff, and I'm looking at it now. I mean, you got Hackney and Mark Rose. You still have Denny in there, even though now all he does is drink Mai Tais and hunt and catch big bass on the shores of Lake Amistad. And Andy Morgan, Menendez, KVD, Shaw Grigsby. I don't know how you let Castledine's photo get in there, but somehow Todd Castledine made that page. Like I said, Zona, Faircloth, Combs, but then you also have, and this is what I was talking a little bit, some of the younger generation. We've seen a lot of Kings of Bass, the feature that you guys are doing in the open EQs this year with both Dakota Ebear and Tristan McCormick. You have John Garrett, Sam George. Andrew's not a young guy anymore. He's getting up there. He's as old as I am. But like I said, talk about what you're looking for when you add the younger anglers on, and then how do you guys navigated that transition from, hey, Kevin caught him on a 1.5 in the Classic, we need to ramp up this color because it's going to be the hot seller this year, or he caught him on a sexy shad in June, and now that bait comes out at Ike. I mean, that's how this stuff used to get out, and it's not that case anymore.
Yeah. Well, so I guess to your first question on the, what's important and what we look for in the young guns, if you will. I think, did you say Trey McKinney in there too? I mean, that guy's...
Is Trey McKinney in there?
Yeah. Talk about a future Hall of Famer. I mean...
I don't think he's on the list, bro.
Well, that's my bad.
No,
I didn't
he's
see
not.
that on the list.
We
don't have his profile's probably
Todd
not.
Castledine's profile up there, not Trey McKinney. The kid just caught 130 pounds.
Yeah, that was a slight. We'll just say that I probably will be talking to our web team after this and getting his bio up there. Thanks for calling me out on that. I guess I called myself.
Oh, we'll really call it out. There's what I'm looking at right there.
Where's Castledine at?
Oh, he's right there.
That's a great picture of Todd.
I wonder what it says about Todd. Oh my gosh, look at that. He's
Not
like he's
long
all
enough.
mean mugged.
We need to add some
He
details
talks
in there.
about how he got into fishing off of the bank. Someone showed him how to throw a Texas rig. It was raining. He caught a fish. He got second at Big Bass in the first tournament. He would mention that. and he's been fishing tournaments ever since. Okay, that's fair. All right, back to the business at hand.
Yeah.
Old school versus the young guys. How do you determine?
Well, I mean, I think it goes in line with what you mentioned about the changing platforms, I guess, for getting the most out of wins and the personalities behind, the rod and reel. I'd say, old school versus new school, like, back to that topic of, 1.5 in a top 10 baits article or talked about on stage, or all the traditional forms of media versus what you have now. I think at the end of the day, like, a lot of people say pro angler versus influencer. And I feel like that is not really an accurate way to separate those two groups, because they shouldn't be separated at all. I think whether it's a tournament stage, a magazine, a top 10 article or whatever, versus YouTube and social media, both of those things are just the channels. And the difference is what is that individual's strategy to utilize both of those. And I think you're seeing a lot of guys implement the strategy of making sure they have great content on YouTube. And it doesn't have to be, hey, let's talk about this particular Strike King bait and what I love about it. It's more just about what they love about the sport in general and things that they can teach other people. I feel like a lot of our guys, like Mark Menendez, prime example, old school guy, does a great job talking about our baits on the water at those events, does a great job creating content in a digital format that educates people. I think he's one of the best educators out there. So I think what you look for is somebody hungry to win, hungry to dominate, and are they willing to share and educate others and grow the sport? I feel like that's the most valuable piece there. Are they willing to share that information and elevate our brands with these new channels? Because all it is another opportunity. I mean, if anything, if you're somebody that's outside of the top, 100 and on the elites or the BPT, and maybe you had a bad year, but you also took the initiative to create content, educate people, talk about what you love, and share that love with other people. I feel like that's just another opportunity to add value to any sponsor that you have. It's just, are you utilizing that or not? And then I think it comes down to what those people have at their disposal, as far as, like, do they have a camera guy? Do they have somebody that can put this stuff together for them? And so we're working through a lot of that. Our strategy is, how do we put all of our awesome content in as many places as possible? I think one initiative I'm sure you've noticed is a shift in the level of our content. I mean, we've always had great TV shows, but Lee Reiber and Sarita and our video team, I mean, they've been churning out some awesome content as well. But having a mix of that highly produced educational content, and then stuff you see with Pro Team Journal and Kings of Bass, and then also just like on the water footage. Like you mentioned Todd Castledine, that guy produces, in my opinion, some of the best YouTube videos out there, because it's just him fishing. He's just got the GoPro there and he's just being real, and he's taking the time in those moments to talk about what he's doing. And not to blow Todd's head up too much there, but I feel like he does a great job just being himself and connecting with his audiences there. And so I feel like there's a lot of different approaches you can take, but I think it's the channels. Like, it's a new channel, it's a new opportunity to to connect with people, and are you capitalizing on that or not?
Yeah, at the risk of Todd taking the star, he probably doesn't care what I think. But what a lot of people don't understand, and I'll dance around. Todd is very integral. Todd spends a lot of time on the water, and there's a lot of things that you as an angler use that he may or may not have had his fingerprints on, that he will never get credit for in some form or fashion or tweak. Like, he does a lot of stuff behind the scenes. Is that a fair assessment as well, Tom?
Yeah, he's a mad scientist for sure.
Yes, 100%.
I get to have a meeting with him bi-weekly to talk about Strike King baits and the future. And it's always Todd bringing in like 10 to 15 different things. It's like,
listen, guys, Tom, listen. I was on the water. This is going to blow your mind. This is 100%. This is how it needs to be done.
We got to get this right now. I'm going to get a call from Todd after this.
So here's the next question. And you could talk about this however you want to, but let's take a guy like Dakota Eber. Eber's been in the industry for a while. He's been in the industry for a long time. Collegiate fisherman, had quality success, but I think would agree that for the first portion of his career was not in the superstar category. Then everything clicks and he takes off like a rocket ship to the moon and has not looked back since then. Talk about the process of like how it goes from, hey, here's this guy, Dakota Eber, to he's starting to catch him, to he's now associated with Strike King Lose, to he's a major part of the marketing brand and on Kings of Bass and is getting followed around every single year. Like, can you follow like how that works? Does he reach out to you? Do you reach out to him? Do you have a meetings where you like identify, let's get this guy? Was he already in the system? Like, how does a deal like that work? Because that's a great case study, in my opinion.
It's definitely case by case. And I would say, I mean, I could tell you the exact story with Eber. I mean, I'd been following him for a little bit. I mean, I saw how successful he was, you know, in other tournaments, invitationals and all that stuff. And then I can't remember which tournament it was, Fork, somewhere in Texas. It was like his second event and he came in second. Like then the next event he came in second. I'm like, gosh, this guy adjusted from a 5-fish format to every fish counts and almost dang won it's like Drew Gill. I mean, almost won it like his second time out, and he continued to do that. And so I reached out to him, and then actually at Red Crest, he was at their whatever dinner champions thing that they had, and I just talked to him there. We had some conversations about what he was wanting, you know, from a sponsor that he would be partnered with, what was important to him, you know, the level of involvement that he wanted to have with, you know, bait development, product development. And then that's just kind of where we connected. And then I introduced him to the president and our VP of marketing. And then we signed him like the week after. We just knew that from not just what he was doing on the water, but what other people had said about him, because I was getting texts from a lot of people saying, hey, it's Dakota Eber guy. He's legit. And just having, you know, a couple conversations with him, you could tell that he brought an element outside of just where he finished in the tournaments that would be, you know, a big value add to our brands and our company. And so, yeah, that was a no-brainer there. But, you know, typically it kind of works that same way. You follow along, see how people are progressing. And then you usually will have somebody else say, hey, got to keep your eye on this guy, or this guy's going to be a superstar. But people say that about a lot of people, and it takes time for that to actually come to fruition and see how dialed is this person with wanting to do this for, you know, for the rest of their lives, and what value do they want to bring to a brand, and then what are they looking to get from us as far as like their involvement truly with creating products and being a part of that process. To me, that's a big value add. If they are like, hey, I think we should do this with this line of baits, or do this here, or add this. They want to be involved in that process. That's a big value add also. But I mean, then you got a guy like Trey McKinney, and he started like a TV show. I remember seeing a one with he and Andy Morgan, like when he was probably 12 years old, and just the charisma, personality, and ability to catch fish, and also just asking questions constantly is what we noticed about Trey. And he became a superstar super fast because he was winning like every BFL, like Illini division.
He was like 7.
Yeah, definitely couldn't drive a car, but he, you know, could catch 20 pounds of bass, and you know, he's just a hammer. He's one of those guys that just truly. I mean, I heard it said at the March Madness a lot, like just a basketball player, like somebody that was born to do this. That's what McKinney is. That's what Eber is. That's what the guys on our staff are. People that are born to do it. So that's been really cool to be a part of as well.
I think you're missing a couple other people on here, Tom.
Let's not make this a bio call out.
Oh, we're doing it because you've got Jason Shakurat, but I do not see Jay.
So we're going through a the profile photo changeover right now. We had these pictures up there that had every guy wearing like a Strike King jersey and a Lose jersey. And so we're updating all those profiles to be lifestyle shots.
Okay.
And so, yeah,
Is
That's
Jay still with it? That's Jason's his dad. Like we've done BTLs with Jason. Like Jason is like the KVD of the walleye world. Fair comparison.
Heck yeah, he's still cracking the walleye up there. NWT
And
crushing
the
it.
weird thing is Jason and Jay have the exact same personalities. And it is the most intimidating thing to be around them because they just sheepishly smile, but they also give this air of, we catch them every time we get on the water. Do you know what I'm talking about with them?
100%.
Like, it's a weird vibe. Like, you don't get that around many people. I've been walleye fishing with Jason and bass fishing with Jay, and they both have that same like aura about them in the vessel.
They're the silent assassins.
Yeah.
It's what's that commercial where it's like says you're turning into your parents? Is it Allstate or something? I don't remember.
Oh yeah.
Not sponsored, but whatever that is, it's funny to watch Jay because every year it seems like he turns like more into his dad, and they both have that sort of they have that silent killer mentality where they're always smiling, the happiest people, the nicest people to work with. I mean, it's a pleasure working with them, but then they'll go out there and cut your throat on the water and have a little slight smile on their face while they're doing it. I remember Jay Shakurat catching that like 7-pounder that officially broke the record and made him I think the first guy to have over 100 pounds of smallmouth. Yeah, and he has that 7-pounder on, and he's just sitting there like, oh, yeah, it's another good one. It's a 7-pounder. Mm-hmm. Hey, and I'm just like, dude, what? I would be freaking out right now. And you're just like, another one.
It was my girlfriend's first like real tournament that she attended. So it took her to the final day of the classic, and after Jay weighed in, she's like, oh yeah, he's in trouble. And I was like, why? She goes, he hinted around a proposal on stage and then didn't do it. And then said if he didn't mention his girlfriend, he was going to get yelled at. She's like, if you're ever on a stage and do either of those two things, she goes, it's done. I was like, dude, you forget the kid's still like 22 years old, 23 years old. Like he's still navigating those aspects of life.
That sounds like something I would have done in that position.
Got
him some hot water there, I'm sure.
It is. Anyway, all right, let's talk some baits. Mm-hmm. So this is what I'm hearing. I'm hearing Strike King is so screwed. All these companies are so screwed because the only thing people are using is a minnow, is a jig head, maybe a few jerk baits. But man, you go into the tackle stores and it's just lines of crankbaits and lines of spinner baits, and all these companies are going to go under, and it's just going to be jig head minnow companies for the next 50 years. That's what I'm hearing, Tom.
Yeah, that is an overreaction. I think, it's kind of just like the YouTube thing, new channel that people can dominate and take advantage of. Obviously, Strike King makes a lot more than the Baby Z2 and some other great baits for forward-facing sonar, but I don't think that's the power fishing style that you could say that Kevin, they call it the blitzkrieg approach to bass fishing, where he's just running and gunning, like not looking at fish, obviously on live scope. There's always going to be a place for that. I think there's going to be more of a place for that because I've heard actually biologists, I've heard anglers suggest that here soon, if fish get too used to getting pinged by sonar, live scope, I mean, you're going to see the fish adapt to that. And then all of a sudden, the guys that are fishing on the bank are going to start dominating up there because everybody else is going to be looking down at their screens in 50 feet of water. And they're going to be up there on a herring point, throwing a thunder cricket and jacking them. And they don't need forward-facing sonar for that. I mean, I feel like that's why it's overblown too, because people maybe are paying too much attention to how things shape out in the tournament world, like for the elites and the Bass Pro Tour. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, I saw it happen in a Murray tournament. Like, it happens every weekend. Somebody's going to bag them, and they're not going to look at that forward-facing sonar other than to see, oh, there's some great grass clumps here, or there's a brush pile here. I've identified that there's a fish in this area, but I don't need to go ping them on the head to catch them. Also, like, I feel like that the minnow is not going to work, throughout the entire year. You're going to have to mix your approach up. And if you're not, that's one thing I worry about for younger anglers that jump right into forward-facing sonar is, I mean, God forbid you ever need to throw a Carolina rig and you don't know how to tie it up or what to do. Some of these old techniques like a spinner bait.
That's a poor example, Tom. Thinking
I like a Carolina rig. I'm in Carolina, so I'm shameless about it. It's fine. I'll throw the ball and chain. But I feel like you still need to master those other techniques because they are going to play a factor. And everybody freaks out about the latest technology change, and you can take advantage of it and master that, or you can master the myriad of other techniques that are out there that are going to be essential for you to be successful in the future. I think if you just get focused on looking at your screen, you're going to miss some of the best parts of fishing, which is patterning fish. I mean, for me, I feel like that is a key element to defining a great bass fisherman is how can you adjust to what's going on. And I feel like a lot of people are still going to have the hunger just to do that, just to pattern fish. I get such more value for me as an angler out of getting on a pattern that I know is repeatable and with a particular color, lure, cover, whatever, secondary points, whatever it is, once that develops and I'm like, man, I'm on them. I mean, that's more valuable than me seeing something on my screen and throwing a drop shot at them and then watching them eat it. Like, I feel like there's a mix of both there. Like, I mean, there's also like a growth of the sport element of getting people that are new to the sport to experience. Hey, I mean, because every time I go home for like the holidays or something, my relatives that don't understand bass fishing, they're just like, so is it just like luck? I mean, you guys just go out there and you cast your lure and you wait. And I'm just like, man, if this person could see forward-facing sonar, it would blow their minds, like what's going on down there. And so there's an education element to it. So I get long-winded there, but I feel like there's just there's different reasons that get people going and why they love the sport. And I think there's always going to be developments in things that don't involve forward-facing sonar and things that do involve forward-facing sonar, so that we have something for both types of anglers.
So in other words, Strike King's in it for the long run and can withstand the current dip, while the frenzy for minnow baits and forward-facing sonar baits will level out.
Yeah, it may never level out. Hopefully there's just like more people getting into the sport that are doing both of those things. You are going to see us and have seen us address obviously creating baits that are designed to put more fish in the boat, regardless of how you're fishing. I mean, definitely forward-facing sonar, you're going to see a lot of stuff.
But I also think in the future, and what we're seeing now, we're seeing a little bit. I think Tyler Williams is a great example of this with a jig, with what he's doing with forward-facing sonar. But I think the next frontier in forward-facing sonar is using traditional baits and then utilizing the forward-facing sonar with the traditional bait. So a 10XD, a 6XD, a Texas rig flipping up shallow, like even a spinner bait. As this gets better, like, dude, I remember the first time I saw a deep diving crankbait on my forward-facing sonar, like where I went down to the ledge and I was able to watch it go down, bounce along the bottom. One eats it, and then I reel it in, and I'm like, holy cow. I mean, like, you don't ever hear people talk about how you can find a 10XD 120 feet out with the LVS 34 and then make sure that you're cranking it down into the brush pile, watching it rise out of the brush pile and keep going. So I think as it gets going more and more and more over the next years, you also see a lot of these traditional baits are applicable for sonar, as well as it just becomes part of our daily fishing routine, whether it be 100%, 5%, 50%, whatever it is.
Yeah. Well, just a quick story real quick, just about what I experienced with forward-facing sonar. I got the 34 and I had the 32 on there originally. And I bought this boat from another gentleman. And so it was like registered to him. And I was in like a rush to get my 34 installed. And then it said transducer not recognized because I got to do software updates and all this other stuff. And then I was going fishing the next day. So I was like, crap, I'm going to be out there with no forward-facing sonar. What am I going to do? I'm going to be completely blind. And then I get out there and I'm like, oh, 2D sonar is actually, it's kind of cool. Like, I'm actually paying more attention to this now than I used to. And then I ended up catching fish that I never would have been able to see fishing shallow. And it was an awesome experience to know that, like, hey, I could actually expand on an awesome pattern here. And I don't feel like I'm blind without forward-facing sonar. I mean, it's just, there's always going to be a place for both. And if you get too reliant on forward-facing sonar, I feel like that's going to hurt you.
Mm-hmm. Have you guys seen a massive increase in the Beatty Z2 sales though?
Oh yeah. Gosh,
Like,
yeah.
insane, I bet.
It's insane. Yeah. I mean, and the baby Z2, if Ken Duke was here, he'd probably slap me in the face. But like, I feel like the baby Z2 was the original. Like now it's like the minnow bait, and everybody's used it for that. Obviously, it wasn't like designed for forward-facing sonar, but I think that's what you're seeing a lot of people other companies build their baits off of.
Well, wasn't it the first time like the big minnow would have been a number? And like I said, this is me and you speaking completely uneducated on this topic. But in my opinion, the first time I remember the Z2 being a massive player would be on St. Clair when they were trying to mimic a little bit bigger fish. And because it has the 3X, the plastic compound in it, you could rig it, you could thread it onto a drop shot hook, like a 2 or 3/0 rebarb, and then fish it on the drop shot, and it would stay completely horizontal on it.
Mm-hmm.
When was the first time you remember it being fished like that?
Well, now you're gonna make me look like an idiot because I don't remember that. I just remember
that was just the first time I remember that everybody was like Z2, 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 baby Z2, like it was, once in a while you'll have those tournaments where everyone in the top 10 will be throwing the same thing. Like it happened with the Berkeley Leech and the Berkeley Gulp Minnow on Thousand Islands back in the day. Like it didn't matter who you were sponsored by, everyone called their sponsors and said, "Hey, I'm using a Gulp Minnow this week, just an FYI." And that Z2 on St. Clair was like that as well.
Yeah, I feel like any of those, the top 10s articles or what they were throwing, I mean, the Z2, you see it in there. I mean, it's a staple. I'd be willing to bet that 75% of people that are on the Elites or Bass Pro Tour probably have some of these in their tackle box, in their boat.
There it is right there, folks. That's actually probably the best color. I believe that is Arkansas Shiner.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
That's probably, I would say, 90% of BPT and Elite Series anglers have that exact minnow in the boat, regardless of their sponsorship affiliations.
I like that. 90%. Yeah, let's go with that. That and the Rage Bug. I know a lot of people have it. Don't deny it.
I know they do, but you can get away with a lot of, there's guys who have their own. There's so many flipping baits, but like this is like a universal minnow, strolling, pinging, shaking, whatever you want to call it.
Yes. And we've got another one that actually came out. It's in the, Rather family brands. It is Mock Baits, which was actually Mock, the brand came from Lou's, started with rods and reels, and now we've got baits. And we've got this one right here, the Mock Schooler. Great little minnow bait right there, available exclusively at Tackle Warehouse. And I mean, just the little, I don't even know would you call that ribbed? I don't know, but the tail action there.
Yeah. Segmented, ribbed.
Segmented. There we go.
No, it's ribbed. That's ribbed. That's 100% a rib. It's like a ribbed and segmented.
Mm-hmm. And these have been going crazy on Tackle Warehouse right now because I think there's a lot of minnow pingers out there that are wanting to get their hands on these.
Now that's not the 3X material.
No, it is not. It's
but the Z2 is the 3X material.
It is. Yes. Okay. I'm trying to think if I have any Z. No, I don't have any right here in the office. But yeah, so you got that one. I mean, Mock came out with a craw bait, get the craw style. We got a frog that just came out, Poppin' Frog. Check that out. And these were all developed by our Mock Nation team, guys like Tyler's Real Fishing, Tyler Anderson. Noah Pescatelli, Andrew Nordby, a bunch of guys like that all had input on what these baits turned out to be. Obviously, you got the rib design that you're going to see on all the mock baits, but a bunch of great ones there.
Nice.
Shameless plug.
No, that's fine. That's what this is for. So there is a slight difference. So this is the Deal, and this is Arkansas Shiner. So the Deal has a little bit more pearl essence in the belly, but I mean, by far the two would be Arkansas Shiner or the Deal, right? When you say as far as,
unless you're talking to Michigan guys, unless you're talking to Kevin and Zona and Jay, a Wisconsin guy. Yeah, there's a time of year, I think it's June and July, where Siren is the absolute deal.
Wait a second. I'm in St. Clair in July for an open.
Throw Siren. Throw Siren.
I don't even know what the heck that one looks like.
It's right next to that pickle juice one.
No way. Just a straight up chartreuse.
Straight up chartreuse. I'm telling you.
God, the smallmouth stuff is always so dumb.
I'm gonna send you an article on it that Kevin and Z did on when to throw siren. There you go. Benny knows what's up. He says it sucks and you don't need it. So we all know what that means. Buy 10 packs of them.
All right, like I said, we'll be over the show with look at the description if you want to get in on this May tournament action. $3,000 first place up for grabs. Fish based on your region. You got big bass stuff in there. Just part of what Strike King and loses. Oh, do you know anything? I'm a spinning rod and spinning reel guy. What is the deal with these? Is it like the bait finesse system except for spinning reels? Shallow spool stuff? Didn't you guys just come out with a shallow spool?
Yeah, so I mean, the custom light shallow spool casting, you could call that BFS. Now we got the shallow spool spinning, which I just happen to have right here.
Literally right there in the office.
I just happen to have this, but yeah, this dropped at the Classic. So it's just a shallow spool. I mean, I've actually got one of the spools right here.
So instead of putting like an entire spool of Sunline on there or whatever braid of your choice, you now don't have to worry about the backing and stuff.
No
it's
need
the exact same thing. Okay.
There's no need for it. And you can, I mean, it's not now one of our employees here, Lucas, refers to this thing as the Minnow Pinger 3000 because he loves to use this for forward-facing sonar, and it is just like flick of the wrist. I mean, it's effortless. But you can use it for, I mean, any place that you're normally using a spinning reel. It just don't have to put a bunch of backing on there. And obviously, the custom light is, I think, the best drag system in the industry for $160 at that price point. It's unreal. So the custom light spinning, now you got this element to it as well with the shallow spool.
What else you got?
Man, I want to get out of here and go catch some herring spawn fish.
Are you going fishing today?
Maybe. I don't know. I think my boss might be watching this. I do want to try to get out there this afternoon. I'm not going to lie. It's so unreal. If you're in the South Carolina area, don't go fish secondary points right now. And don't look for any herring. It's not happening.
Top 3 herring baits, and then we'll let you go.
We have one that's coming out at ICAST. That's in my top 3. Can't talk about that.
Designed for herring? Or it just works well for herring?
It just works well. It just works well.
Surface, subsurface?
Subsurface.
Do you impart the action, or does just reeling it straight impart action on it?
Reeling it straight will impart action. But of current lines,
treble hook or single hook bait?
I don't want to share too much. Maybe both. I don't know.
Dang it.
Yeah, but Thunder Cricket. I'd say. I mean, right now, Thunder Cricket, spinnerbait. And then you're gonna need a topwater element soon.
Not a caffeine shad yet.
Yeah, caffeine shad. That's a great one too. I mean, having something to throw whenever the fish aren't up schooling on top. They haven't started like blowing up top yet. They're just getting on those points. So there will be here soon. You're going to want to throw in a topwater element in there. I think a mock shad, which is a jointed swim bait. That's a really great one. We got that in green gizzard. So if you're fishing around any herring lakes, it literally looks, I thought this was really stupid that I thought this, but I saw a herring sitting like a foot below the surface when I was out a couple of days ago. And it looked so much like a mock shad, like it was the exact same length and color, that I was like, somebody break off a mock shad. It's just sitting here floating neutrally buoyant. No, it was an actual herring that was just sitting there, just not doing anything. But yeah, that'd be my top 3. I'd say, Thunder Cricket, mock shad. It's a subsurface deal. Spinnerbait's great. And then pretty soon it'll be all about the topwater, sexy dogs, stuff like that.
The herring is the only one that I've seen that reminds me of like the cheetah and the gazelle. Like usually the shad just go and scatter, but the herring, you can't even explain it until in person you've seen a 7-inch blueback fleeing and jumping out of the water with a 5-pound largemouth, absolutely locked in on that bait for an extended period of time. And it's literally like watching that cheetah chase the gazelle, where the gazelle's doing turns and flips and jumps and that, and you're going, dude, we are not giving bass enough credit for how agile they are, because they will cover multiple football fields on one fish, chasing one blueback herring, going, that sucker's mine.
Yeah.
And there's nothing else like it.
Yep. And they drain a lot of their energy from chasing those fish around, so that they kind of just stay eating, all day. They got to keep eating it. It's a high protein forage fish, which is why lakes that have it are really dang good and have awesome big fish. But if you're in the area, or if you've never experienced a blueback herring lake or Lake Murray, definitely sign up for that Big Bass Challenge at StrikeKing.com. You got the digital version again, Striking Big Bass USA, and then you got the in-person version. Sign up for both of those, because that's like a double bonus if you're fishing in both of those and catch big fish. But it's one of those things where if you're new to the area, go find yourself a secondary point. Go look for some herring points. They'll be really obvious, because you'll pull up there and you'll see herring and bass blowing up on them. So it'll be a great experience, and you can win some awesome stuff in the in-person one as well.
You're saying, hey, what are we talking about? Because I just don't want to just pump the derby. And I said, I don't know. We'll figure it out. Well, we figured it out for an hour and 7 minutes, Tom.
Oh, yeah. I missed a meeting by 37 minutes.
Oh, my God. Why didn't you say something?
I texted my boss. I told him.
You should have just told me that. Like, that's stuff that would be like, hey, yeah, I'm good, but we need to be out of here by like 10.
Man, I just get lost talking about the fishing, man. I could, if you didn't point that out that it was 10:37, I wouldn't have even realized.
All right, I'll let you go.
Always good catching up with you, man.
Enjoy the meeting. Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, Matt.
All right, see you. All right, that is Tom Brewbaker from Strike King and Lose. We'll take a final break of the show. When we come back, a couple of things to keep your eye on for the next week and a half, and then I'll also pump St. Jude. Only 5 days left to get your St. Jude and BTL Bass Fishing Saves Lives t-shirt. So it's BTL on a Wednesday. We'll be back right after this. Have you considered purchasing new electronics for your rig? The type of mounts you choose to protect your investment should be part of the decision-making process. No matter if you prefer 1, 2, or 3 graphs up front, Beatdown Outdoors has a solution for you. Adjustable, versatile, rigid, and made in the USA. What's your ultimate electronics setup? Check out the full selection of Beatdown Outdoors products by visiting beatdownoutdoors.com.
In 2023, we became a household name in the crappie fishing world thanks to Power Breaks, the game changer. Hey, bass fishing world, buckle up, because you're next. It's going to be fun. Welcome to the next evolution of our product line, Power Breaks Sidekick, designed to install right on your shallow water acres. We are the first and only fishing brake company to offer a breakaway system. Just like with the Game Changer, the Power Breaks Sidekick has it as well. And it's not a matter of if you're going to need it, it's when. Power Breaks, the most durable fishing brakes available on the market today. Made right here in the USA with our rock-solid 2-year warranty. Hey, not all fishing brakes are built equally, and you owe it to yourself to find out why ours are different. Power Breaks Sidekick. Order yours today at mypowerbrakes.com. You'll be glad you did.
Yes.
Fishing isn't just a hobby, it's an obsession. Whether it's blazing hot or bitterly cold, bright sunshine, raining, or even snowing, someplace, somewhere, there's a fish that's ready to bite. And as the angler, you need baits that will catch the fish anywhere, anytime, no matter the conditions. From throwing topwaters to cranking the depths, know the baits to throw. Choose Spro.
Having confidence in your tackle while on the water is one of the main things to success, in my opinion. In the last couple of years with Denali, I've had just that. From anything from spinning rods, casting rods, tungsten products, even now to casting and spinning reels, I have the confidence to go out there and get the job done and know that all my equipment is going to handle it and do it just the way I want it. The thing about Denali is you've got great quality products at a great price point, so make sure you check them out.
Gamakatsu, the innovation leader in fish hooks, is launching Nano Alpha technology in 2024. Nano Alpha is a new finish available on Gamakatsu's most popular hook styles. It delivers 2 times slicker performance, 4 times better corrosion resistance. Nano Alpha technology makes the world's greatest fish hooks even better in 2024 to help anglers catch more fish.
Born in Japan, using technology, innovation, and precision, Sunline produces the widest selection of fishing lines at the most technologically advanced line factory in the world. Manufactured at the strictest tolerances to produce victories at the highest levels of tournament bass fishing. From household names like Christie, Swindle, and Cruz, to young guns like Cook, Logan, New, and Welcher, they all trust Sunline to take them to the top of the leaderboard. Choose the line that will give you the strength to guarantee your confidence. Sunline.
All right, wrapping things up here, BTL on a Wednesday. Big shout out to Mr. Brewbaker for jumping on, a longtime supporter of BTL and the Bass Zone. And like I said, when you partner, when you work with companies, it's nice to have someone who you know is a bass fishing fan who's on it. Like I call Tom up and I say, hey, what do you think about this? Let's see that. Run it by. Always open to suggestions, ideas, and those are the ones we like to work with. So I did come across an article. And it says that Taylor Swift outsells Beyonce in merchandise by 14 times. 14 times the demand for Taylor Swift merchandise over Beyonce merchandise, which kind of surprised me. But then I realized, heck, there's also a big demand for BTL merchandise, and there's only 5 days left to purchase it. Quarter zips like this. Now, here's the thing. If you guys want to get some BTL apparel, I want to add a caveat. You have to order a St. Jude Bass Fishing Saves Lives t-shirt. You guys have had a really good feedback from St. Jude over the past 3 years for this. I can already see the orders. You guys are awesome if you've already ordered your Bass Fishing Saves Lives t-shirt. 100% of those proceeds go to St. Jude, which obviously hits home this year with Riley Berghoff, Miles Berghoff, BTL regular. You guys all know who Miles is. His daughter is currently at St. Jude. Their family is living in St. Jude housing in Memphis, Tennessee at St. Jude while she battles cancer as a 1-year-old. And I talk with him, and you can see the updates on his YouTube and his page. It's kind of weird that I got involved with this through Adam Bartuzek and the Crappie Chronicles and the Dick Hiley St. Jude Bass Classic that's raised nearly $7 million over the past 25 years, including $1.1 million in the 25th anniversary last year, and didn't know anybody that was directly affected this way. I had a cousin who had leukemia. She went through when she was 3. She's in middle school now, kicking everyone's butt in soccer, I think, in Cincinnati. But this one hits close to home, so I'll add it up on the screen. It's through the 14th. It's a soft, like kind of true fit cotton tee, so it's going to be one of those that's a little bit more form fitting, pre-washed. $29.95 for it. It comes in 2 different colors. Big shout out to ATS Printing for kind of redesigning that logo. So jump in there, grab it. And then what I'm doing also is throwing in a like a 4x6 vinyl BTL sticker if you get a t-shirt. So I had Catherine throw in one of those for each one. So what happens is you order it, then as soon as the store closes in 5 days, give it 10 days of printing, processing, and shipping, and then you guys will have the t-shirts. But while you're at it, there are shockingly a lot of people who want to wear BTL merchandise. So classic BTL gear. This is a one-time only drop. Like, it closes in 5 days. I'm currently wearing the BTL Yu-Gi-Oh! Luma half zip quarter fleece. I'm 6 foot 180. Fits absolutely perfect. So I wanted some high quality stuff. And then the limited edition one run of the Frank Scalish signature series edition stuff. Very happy with how this stuff turned out. So go ahead and check that. And then we will have like a hat drop in like June or July. I had to purchase the patches on that. But get your St. Jude stuff if you guys already have. Greatly appreciate it. If you haven't, and I fully understand it, no big deal. But if you get a chance, big portion. I think for our portion of it, we are going to have a record-breaking fundraising year with 100% of those proceeds going to St. Jude, and then we'll know exactly how much it was just based on between the t-shirts, direct fundraising, and the silent raffle that we had at the Giesenbrauer Beer Company with the Crappie Chronicle guys up north. So, all right, bass fishing, live bass fishing returns tomorrow to your selected league of choice. The BPT will be live after the first rounds, elimination rounds. Smallmouth, largemouth there, and then also in Florida, the Harris Chain. They actually have an off day today on Wednesday, and the Elite Series returns for the third Elite Series stop of the 2024 season. We will be live tomorrow with Uncle Frank. I'm sure he'll be wearing the shirt, and he's going to be talking about that merch too. Link in the bio. Also, you can just go to basszone.com, click on the shop BTL tab, but that store closes on the 14th, so you have 5 days to get it before it closes. I think that's all we got for today. That was an interesting show. I hope I didn't get Tom in trouble. I asked him a lot of questions about pro staff and guys like that. I'm probably going to get a call from Todd after this too, but it's all good. All right, day 4 tomorrow with the man, Frank Scalish. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll see you then. Later.